Hi, welcome to Chapter 5 in A Life in Books. Today we'll travel to Sicily and learn about the Florios of Sicily. This book was originally written in Italian by a woman from Sicily, Trapani to be exact, named Stefania Auci. And it was in fact suggested to me by a friend just before we went to Sicily. Got myself a sample, put it aside, and then encountered the Florios in person, if you will, through the legacy of their buildings. So when I got home, I read the book. While I wanted to read the book, I had been deterred because there's apparently a much better one in Italian that hasn't been translated. However, what I want to share with you here are reasons why I enjoyed this book and even share with you some excerpts from the book itself. It's definitely historical fiction. It's hugely elaborated and there's lots of extrapolation, and it does follow a historical timeline of how Sicily developed as a nation. If one wants a proper history, John Julius Norwich is the absolute must, and for a romantic journey through the eyes of a single family, this book really is a delight. And when we came home from Sicily, I wanted to feel myself in Sicily and experience it from a different angle, and this book gave me that opportunity as well. Frankly, it was a quick, wonderfully entertaining read that gave me a lot of joy. So that's why I would recommend this book to you. And now I'd like to share with you a few passages from the book that gave me pause and ignited my imagination. I start actually from the end, not the very end, I won't give it away. However, there's a point in the book that gave me pause because before we went to Sicily, we heard lots of different ideas of what Sicily was and is. And one of them is that it's dirty and difficult, particularly Palermo. We, as you may know if you read my post about our trip, did not find that and were joyously surprised by the delights of the city and the country overall. And when I read the passage I share with you now, it gave me a moment to laugh at how little has changed in over 200 years. What a poor, strange city, they say, at the same time poor, filthy, and regal. They can't take their eyes off the colors, off the ochre walls that seem to reflect the sunlight. They can't understand how the stench of the sewers can coexist with the scent of orange blossom and jasmine that decorate the courtyards of aristocrats' palaces. Another aspect of this book that I found quite extraordinary were the female characters. The men were the primary characters and mainly the narrators of the book, the men of the Florio family, and the women play an equally strong role, in particular the mother of one of the main characters. Giuseppina was one of the original members of the family who come to Palermo from their home village on the sea. And she's married into the Florio family, and she's unhappily married, we realize, and what gives her joy is her son. And her son brings us a great deal from the book, and in this passage, she's speaking to him. And here's what she has to say. There are things I couldn't give up for all the money that you and your uncle brought to this house. You want to slow time down when you get old, but time doesn't stop. So you cling to things. For as long as they're around, it means you're around. You can't see and don't want to see life ebbing away. Giuseppina sits on the edge of the bed and presses the shawl to her chest. There is a regret that gives her a knot in her stomach. We call them memories, but we lie, he says in a whisper. Things like this shawl and your ring She points at Ignazio's mother's wrought gold wedding ring, are like anchors to a fleeting life. In this moment, I found this passage particularly interesting, reminding us how life is a series of beginnings, middles, ends, life, death, and we invest in our things. We think our things are how we perpetuate, but in actual fact, it's our spirit. It's what we leave behind as a feeling that gives an idea, because things are misinterpreted, but who we were, how we lived, this can say a lot. One of the main reasons I enjoyed the book, beyond its entertainment value and my love of Sicily, were the passages that provoked me to my own ideas and thought. For me, it was not a literary masterpiece. However, it was an opportunity to pause and think and give myself a chance to reflect. One particular passage gave me that reminder I needed to be present whatever's happening around me. It's Giuseppina again, and she says to us through her thoughts, without saying a word, only through the narrator of the book. She would like to say more, much more, but does not. Because resentment is a stone embankment between your throat and your soul. It's her security, her excuse for justifying her unhappiness. I was struck by her own self-awareness, and still that she chose to be bitter and unhappy. As one of the main characters of the book, she leads us through the life of the Florios from the vantage point of someone who is dissatisfied and who is longing for things her entire life that she never actually realizes. And it informs a lot her son, who then becomes the protagonist of the book after his uncle dies. And it informs a lot, I think, personally, in the choice her son makes when he finally marries. That in itself is another reason I like the book. It gives very little mercy to the idea of how women were not given the same considerations and why he eventually marries Julia, who is the other female protagonist, if you will, in the book, is daunting and disappointing, and at the same time real. So this wasn't a literary masterpiece. I don't suggest it for the reasons of my other books. I suggest it as a light, interesting read that may provoke your thought to learn more about Sicily's actual history. As it's holiday time, it's a wonderful opportunity to curl up with a cup of tea or wine or coffee or whatever you like and escape into another time, another world, and also to reflect what has changed, what is different, what are my priorities, how will I see out 2020? Will I see it out with bitterness and regret because of all the challenges I faced, potentially the problems I've encountered, maybe for some of us even deep grief? Or will I embrace life and go forward and be grateful for what I have and surround myself in my thoughts, in my heart, and as possible in person with the people that I love? So thank you for sharing this journey with me, this new part of FOODMood, which gives food to our soul through books of various kinds. And I wish you an enjoyable holiday season. Maybe you'll curl up with the Florios. Whatever you do, have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season, whatever your holiday is, and ring in 2021 with hope and gratitude and love. I wish you joy and happiness. Thank you for sharing the journey.